Hi, folks. Welcome to the HSWC Foster Care Program. I'm the Foster Care Coordinator, Monica Bulat. Thank you for helping us save lives. The Foster Care Online Orientation. This orientation will qualify you to do both regular fostering and dog sleepovers. If you're interested in doing bottle baby kittens, let us know and we'll send you a link to a little training video. There's a lot of info in here, but don't be scared. The video's on the website whenever you need a reminder, and the foster team is here to help. You might want to grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper and jot a couple of things down. Contact us. The foster care team is your first contact, and I, Monica, am your first contact for foster care. My office number is 301-733-2060, extension 215. That's really not the best way to get a hold of me because I'm usually running around the shelter, especially during kitten season. So the foster cell phone number is the best number to reach me for real-time conversations. You can text me or you can call me. Texting is a lot easier when I'm at work because I can text you right back. My email is fostercare@hswcmd.org. Currently, I work Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, and every other Friday and Saturday. Clinic Saturdays, I'm here from 8 to 5. Weeks without a Saturday clinic, I'm here from 9 to 6 on Friday. I'll give you a foster care clinic schedule when you come in for your first round of fosters, and you'll see which weeks I'm working Friday and which weeks I work Saturday. For emergencies during business hours, you can call our main number, which is 301-733-2060, and tell the person who answers that you have a foster emergency. You might want to say emergency first instead of foster, because sometimes if you just say foster, you'll get sent to my office phone. So say emergency, and then it's a foster emergency. For emergencies after hours, first try the foster phone, the 240-452-6907. Give me a minute to answer in case I'm not somewhere where I can answer immediately, like I possibly could be driving or maybe I'm in the shower. For an emergency call, definitely call me. Don't text me, because I can sleep through my text notifications, but I can't sleep through my ringtone. If that doesn't work, try calling the main number 301-733-2060, and the emergency service will answer after hours, and then they'll call me. The foster care resource site. We now have a website dedicated to helping our fosters at hswcfostercare.wixsite.com. It has specific forms, links, documents, foster clinic signups, on-deck signups, and more. The parts are password protected, and the password will be sent to you in an email after you submit your application. It also has some outside resources such as fact sheets and classes you can take on animal care. The kinds of fostering. Most fostering is for animals that aren't ready for adoption for one reason or another. Mostly it's because they're too young, which is the majority of our fosters. Neonates are bottle babies of any species, both dogs or cats. Kittens and puppies eating on their own are a part of foster care, and kittens and puppies with moms. We also have moms that are pregnant, moms that are nursing, moms with older babies. We have fostering for surgery and illness recovery, breaks from the shelter, behavior modification and socialization, and sleepover fostering. Most of our dogs that go out for regular fostering are either surgery recovery, socialization, pregnant, or with puppies, or just need a break from the shelter environment. We learn so much more about them in a home. Who needs fostering? In 2020, you can see that 947 animals went to foster. 61 dogs, 26 puppies, 86 cats, 757 kittens, and 17 others. Some of those others included mama rabbits with baby bunnies. We had a couple of pregnant rabbits. We had a miniature horse, and we had some potbelly piglets. Sleepover fostering. We now have a great new weekend fostering program for our adoptable dogs to give them a break and see what they're like outside of the shelter. Dogs that qualify can be taken home for 1 to 3 nights or even just a few hours if you want to take them to Starbucks or a hike on the canal or over to one of the battlefields. It doesn't even have to be a weekend. If your schedule is easier during the week, you could take a dog like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. You can even take them for just 24 hours. We ask that you take pictures, fill out a short survey, and do a little write-up about them so that we can share with potential adopters and use to promote the dogs on Facebook. When we have dogs that qualify for sleepovers, we'll send an email. The only thing we ask is no dog parks. Getting your fosters. Each time you're ready to foster cats, fill out the On Deck Foster Survey. When we have dogs that need fostering, we'll send an email to the dog group. You're going to fill it. It'll look like a survey to you, but it looks like a spreadsheet to me. So when I have kittens come in that need fostering, I go down my spreadsheet and see what kinds of kittens people are interested in taking, whether they're interested in taking moms with babies. And then I give the foster a call or a text, however they like to be contacted, and we fulfill your order for kittens. The first time you come, there will be several papers to read and sign. After that, you'll just sign the foster contract. You'll receive a checklist to take home with puppies and kittens and bring this with you to all medical appointments. The reason being is puppies and kittens usually need booster vaccines and booster dewormers. So we fill out this checklist every time you come into the clinic after we have given your kittens or puppies their shots. Preparing for your fosters. You'll need a place to put them. It can be a bathroom, bedroom, kennel. It's not recommended that you let your fosters roam your house unsupervised, especially kittens. I would say with dogs, we don't require that you keep them in a bathroom or a bedroom, but with kittens, it's very important to start them out in a small space so that they know where their litter box is, they know where their food bowls are, and nobody gets lost trying to find any of them. Scared little kittens can hide and you'll have trouble getting to them. They may go to the bathroom in that hiding place as well. Kittens will often go to the bathroom anywhere and everywhere. They're naturally drawn to a place they can bury their waste. And it's a little bit like potty training toddlers. So if they can't remember their way to the litter box or are too distracted to make it, they just will poop on the floor. Kittens can also object to the litter box itself. If you find that your kitten is pooping and peeing inappropriately, you could just try a different type of litter or a different type of box, maybe a shallower box if the kittens are kind of small. Kittens are adventurous, so be sure to keep your toilets closed, your sinks drained, and recliners closed. Kittens will break things. They climb anything climbable, eat anything edible, or just chew on things that aren't. Make sure that you have them in a place where they won't cause significant damage to the environment and where the environment won't cause significant damage to them. Taking them home. You'll be provided with an initial kit that includes what you need to get started. If you take bottle babies or a mom with tiny babies, you'll also get a bottle baby kit. We have puppy kits and kitten kits. If you purchase supplies for your fosters, keep the receipts because you can count them as donations to the shelter at tax time. Don't forget to kitten or puppy proof your space. I have a few kitten playpens and I also have a few puppy playpens. This is what the kits look like. These are typical kitten kits. On the bottom left is your kind of an kitten kit for kittens that are already eating on their own. The kitten kit on the right is a bottle baby kitten kit. We also send bottle baby puppy kits home. Of course, they won't have kitten milk replacer. They'll include puppy milk replacer, but basically the kits are the same. At the top, you'll see a little example of a playpen. These are great for little tiny kittens, but once the kittens get a little bigger, they can kind of scratch these up and knock them over. I do have some if you do take some tiny kittens. Multiple groups. Taking multiple groups is a great way to get more animals out of the shelter. Our hard limit is 2 litters of kittens. If you have more than one room for fosters, you can take more than one group. After your first time fostering, of course. We don't want to get you overwhelmed right out of the gate. Combining litters is a little more tricky because illnesses can be passed back and forth, and some illnesses don't even show up for a long time. So everybody can get exposed without you even knowing it for a couple of months. If you want to do it, you must speak with us about potential downfalls. Again, after you've had your first litter. Kitty litter. It is very important that kittens do not use clumping clay litter until they're at least 3 months old. If small kittens ingest it, it can clump in their intestines and kill them. There are several alternatives. Non-clumping clay litter is the cheapest stuff you can buy. It's not great at odor control, and your boxes will need frequent changing, but most of the time when you have kittens, your boxes will need frequent changing anyway. The pelleted litter is pretty great too, and you can find it very inexpensively at Tractor Supply if you look for the pine pelleted horse bedding. And in the wintertime, you can also find it as hardwood pellets for pellet stoves. The natural litters are also great to use. Some are better at odors than others, but they're very expensive. Some will clump, so you can scoop daily, but you want to be careful of those little kittens. Illness. Kittens come from all sorts of backgrounds. We don't necessarily know what they've been exposed to. They have probably been exposed to something, whether they have symptoms or not. They almost all have parasites of some sort. You'll likely need to medicate kittens or puppies at some point, even if they seem healthy when you take them home. We recommend keeping them separate from your animals and other foster groups. If you're fostering for more than one organization, you must house our fosters totally separate from theirs for the duration. If you have unaltered animals in the home, you cannot foster animals of the same species, regardless of whether or not they're fixed. We will provide medical care for our foster animals, but you are responsible for any care your personal animals may need as a result of fostering. Upper respiratory infections. They're very much like a human cold. They're very common and usually not a big deal for older animals, but they can be very serious for the small ones. Complications usually occur if they stop eating because they can't smell their food, or they become dehydrated. To see if your kitten has become dehydrated, you can pull the skin on the back of the animal's neck and it should snap right back. If it doesn't, they may be dehydrated and you should contact us as soon as possible. One of the things that I found works for the food is if I take some of the wet food and I put it in the microwave for just a couple of seconds and warms it up, it makes it a little smellier. And that way, if you have a kitten with sniffles, it's easier for them to smell their food. Diarrhea. Many kittens and puppies get diarrhea at some point, and it isn't unusual for adult cats and dogs either. It can be from stress, diet change, parasites, or other illness. Do not give kittens seafood-based wet foods, as those can cause loose stools. Bright red blood is common and is not an emergency if they've had issues for a while. It's usually just an irritated rectum. Sometimes if they've had diarrhea for a couple of days, or even if they've been a little constipated for a couple of days, this can happen. It's no cause for alarm, although it may be a little alarming to see. Dark blood can indicate a much more serious issue. So if you see dark blood or anything that looks tarry black, please contact us immediately. If you're having diarrhea issues, bring in a clean stool sample for us to test. Try and get one without litter if possible. It's hard to get a good test if you can't get enough pure poop. It's not always easy, I'll have to warn you. If diarrhea is watery and or accompanied by vomiting, let us know as soon as possible, as we may need to test for panleukopenia or parvo. Lethargy. Animals will often have less energy if they're not feeling well. But if your animal, kittens and puppies especially, go floppy, let us know as soon as possible. Lethargy has various different degrees. Sometimes they're just maybe not their old self today, and they're kind of just laying around. They're maybe watching their friends play, but they're not joining in the play. That may mean that they're just having a little bit of an off day. Maybe sometimes they could be sleeping all day and they really don't want to get up and do anything. That's a little more cause for concern, and I would definitely monitor a kitten that's sleeping more than they're awake. And then, as we say, if they go floppy, that means that they're getting very limp. That is definitely an emergency, and you need to contact us immediately. FELV, feline leukemia virus, is just that, a virus and not a cancer. Some cats that have been exposed to FELV can clear the virus completely from their body, while other cats are able to control the infection, preventing illness. In some cats, the infection will become active in their body and will develop problems such as anemia or cancer. FELV is mainly spread through saliva to other cats, shared water bowls, grooming each other, etc. Tests are not completely accurate. Adult cats who test negative, we can only say that they were negative at the time of the test. It takes at least 30 days from the time of infection with FELV to test positive on a SNAP test. Therefore, if a cat were infected just prior to intake to the shelter, they would test negative, but could actually have the disease. While this could be a very uncommon scenario due to the low prevalence, in order for it to count in this time frame, testing should occur at least 60 days after the last known exposure, which would be best completed by the adopter's veterinarian. The HSWC does not test cats for FELV unless there is a reason to do so, such as the cat appears sick or unthrifty and is an unaltered male cat. Though none of us want to think about it, death is a very real possibility when it comes to foster animals. Bottle babies have the highest mortality rate, but older kittens can also die, sometimes unexpectedly. If you have a kitten die in your care, chances are that it was not your fault. The kittens that come to us have been exposed to any number of things, as were their mothers. As long as we don't determine that a death was due to negligence, it won't be held against you. We know it happens. It's very hard on fosters, and we're here to help. We've all had our fosters die every once in a while, and we know how it feels. Parasites. There's external parasites like fleas, ticks, and ear mites. Ringworm is not really a parasite, it's a fungus. It's very easily treatable, but is very highly contagious to people and other animals. There's internal parasites, roundworms, tapeworms, coccidia, giardia. If you ever see something that looks like spaghetti in your kitten or puppy's poop, or if they vomit something like that, that could be roundworms. As long as they're not moving, that's a good thing. It's gross, but it is a good thing because that means that the dewormers that we give them are working. Tapeworms can look like rice. Be sure to let us know if you see anything that looks like rice in your kitten or puppy's poop or vomit, because we have a pill for that can one-time pill that can take care of that for you. Coccidia is something that has to be seen under a microscope, and that's why we'll ask you for a stool sample. We have a great antibiotic that we use for it, and we usually put most kittens on that antibiotic once they're over a pound, over 4 weeks, and they're eating on their own. External parasites are generally easy to notice, and we treat accordingly. Most will be noticeable upon their intake, and treatment will be started before you even take them home. But ringworm can take a couple of weeks to show up and can be difficult to detect in the early stages. We give all cats and dogs a dose of pyrantel upon intake. Pyrantel treats roundworms, which are the most common internal parasites we see. If you notice that your foster has loose stools or isn't gaining weight, get a clean stool sample so we can see if there are other parasites in there. If you see parasites in stool or vomit, get a sample if possible, or take a picture. Transmittable illnesses. Most all of the illnesses you will encounter can be passed to another animal of the same species. Make sure that your animals are fully vaccinated. Not all illnesses have vaccines, but you're keeping your animals as safe as you can by having them vaccinated. Many of the internal parasites can be passed between cats and dogs, and some can be transmitted to humans. They are passed through infected poop. So animals that share bathroom areas are likely to share parasites, and people can get them through improper washing or walking barefoot in a place where an animal with hookworm has pooped. Be sure, if you have young children that are helping you with your fosters, that they wash their hands thoroughly after playing with the fosters or helping you with litter boxes and cleaning bowls, and make sure that they don't walk barefoot through the areas that the kittens or puppies play. Ringworm and rabies can also be passed between cats, dogs, and humans. First aid and emergency care. Check the body temperature. Kittens and puppies should be between 100 and 102.5. I have plenty of thermometers, so if you don't have a baby thermometer at home, please ask and I'll give you one when you take your fosters. There will be oftentimes when you may have to take a temperature just to make sure on a kitten or a puppy. If they're too warm, place them on an ice pack covered with a towel or blanket or on a nice cool tile floor. If they're too cold, you can warm them up with a rice pack, snuggle safe, or heating pad on low. Sometimes even you can take a towel and throw it in the dryer for a little while and wrap them up in that nice warm towel. Do not try to feed an animal that's too cold. They will not be able to digest it, and it could make them even sicker. Rub a little Karo syrup on their gums if they're lethargic. Seek assistance. Call the foster cell phone first. If a foster animal passes away while in your care, know that you did your best. Please let me know. You can bury the body at home, or you can bring it to the shelter to be cremated. Vet visits. We have a vet at the shelter, normally Monday through Friday. If something happens and is an emergency that is off hours or not on a Monday and through Friday, all visits to outside vets must be pre-authorized. If we authorize it, the visit will be billed directly to the shelter. We cannot reimburse you if you pay out of pocket. If you receive authorization to take your foster to the vet, we ask that you get any medications from the shelter if at all possible. If you have to take an animal to an outside vet, please let them know that they are property of HSWC. That way they will send the invoice directly to us. If the animal needs any medications going forward after they leave the vet, please get what you can from the vet to last you at least until you get to the shelter. We pay a lot less for these medications from the manufacturer than we would from the veterinary's office. Routine care. You will be responsible for getting your fosters in for all medical necessities. Routine care is provided at foster clinics. Foster clinics are currently every Wednesday from 1 to 6, with the last appointment being at 5:30, and every other Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., with the last appointment being 3:30. A schedule will be given to you when you pick up your first fosters. You must bring kittens and puppies in every 2 to 3 weeks to a foster clinic for shots and deworming. Kittens will start vaccinations and dewormer at 2 weeks. Puppies don't start vaccinations until 6 weeks, but they do need to start dewormer at 2 weeks. Both puppies and kittens will continue to receive shots until 16 weeks old or adoption, whichever comes first. Adult cats and dogs will have different medical needs based on the animal. Some may need a booster shot, some will have already gotten them. If they are in foster due to illness or surgery, they may need to come back for follow-up visits and rechecks. Rule number 1, there are a lot of things to remember about foster care, but the number 1 rule is that they are our animals. You are an integral part of their care, and we wouldn't be able to save nearly as many animals without you. We try to give our fosters as much autonomy as possible, but we do have the final say over everything foster related. We trust you to make the best decisions regarding their daily care. You need to trust us to make the best decisions regarding their overall care. This means you need to respect our decisions about their medical care, including if we think they need to be put to sleep, which is a decision we do not take lightly. We gladly seek your input with everything related to your fosters, but we do make the final decisions. Spay, neuter. Before cats and dogs can be adopted, they must be spayed or neutered. They must be at least 8 weeks old and over 2 pounds before surgery. Most shelter kittens will reach 2 pounds by 10 weeks or so. When they're ready, I will contact the vet side to schedule the surgeries, and then I'll contact you to let you know when your fosters are on the surgery schedule. Please bring your checklists to the shelter when you bring your animals in for surgery, or bring me the paperwork to enter from an outside vet. It may take us a couple of days after surgery to get the paperwork entered into the computer, depending upon how much we have to enter and what other things are going on. Fosters are never available for adoption the same day as surgery. All the animals must recover for at least 24 hours after surgery before they will be available for adoption. If your fosters are too small to get their rabies vaccine at the time of surgery, they have to be at least 12 weeks old for that. But then maybe you take them back to your home to recover, and then they aren't adopted by the time they hit 12 weeks, you will need to make an appointment to bring them in for their rabies shot. Dogs and cats 8 to 12 weeks old will not have a rabies shot at adoption. That will be the responsibility of their adopter. Dogs and cats that are 12 to 15 weeks will have a rabies vaccine, but could go without them if there's no way to get them one beforehand. Dogs and cats 16 weeks and older are legally required by the state of Maryland to have a rabies vaccine. It's your responsibility to keep track of whether your foster needs a rabies shot or not. Their date of birth and whether they have had a shot yet will be on your checklist. They also get microchips at the time of surgery. You are welcome to post all of your happy stories and photos on social media involving your fosters, as long as they aren't part of a field service case. I will tell you if they're part of a field service case when you come to get them. You can post your sad stories as well, but please don't post graphic photos or things that could make the shelter seem bad. If there's a problem, please contact us directly. If you have something that other fosters may be able to help you with, such as a picky kitten or a kitten that's pooping outside the box, we have a great Facebook group called HSWC Foster Care Families. It's a private group, so you will need to request membership. It is not for medical issues, and it is not an official way to contact a staff member. I'm on there occasionally, but it's mostly for foster families to have a community. You'll get to see everybody's cute pictures of their kittens, and some people post cute little memes and jokes, but it's a great way to connect with your community. You cannot post anything about other people's fosters unless those fosters are ready for adoption. And please don't post anything about animals that you may see in the back that are the non-public areas of the shelter. Adoption. All animals must be up to date on shots and be healthy to go up for adoption. If you have a checklist for your fosters, the checklist must be filled out before you bring them in for adoption. We have kennels in the lobby for cats and kittens. In the busier months, there may be a waiting list to get them in. In the slower months, Cats and kittens can often stay here after surgery and go out on the adoption floor the next day. Dogs will go on the adoption floor when there's room for them. There's usually not much of a wait. Most of the time, they can just stay after surgery. Once an animal comes into the shelter for adoption, they stay here and you don't take them back home again. Special cases. You may have an animal that wouldn't do well at either an event or a shelter setting. For these animals, you can make a post on the foster care Facebook page. You will need to be willing to follow the post and speak directly with potential adopters. You will need to either have the adopters come to your home to meet the animal or find another location in which to meet with them. The animal will probably be happiest in your home, though we would never require you to let strangers into your home if you're not comfortable. Once an appropriate adopter has been found, the adoption should proceed through HSWC as normal. If you're interested in an animal that might need this special care, we're happy to discuss details further with you before you take them home. We now have a way to post their pictures in our adoption gallery, even if they aren't in the shelter. We just make a notation that this animal is enjoying life in a foster home. We'll work with you with your schedule to set up appointments that work with you, where you could just bring the animal back to the shelter. They don't even have to go back in a kennel, and we would line up appointments with potential adopters. Adoption ambassadors. If you have a friend, family member, or someone close to you that wants to adopt your fosters, that's awesome. You can even adopt your fosters too. They will need to complete the adoption process just the same as any other adopter. There are several ways to accomplish the adoption. You can meet them at the shelter with the animal. They can come to the shelter and fill out the paperwork and then just swing by your house later in the day and pick up the foster. We can train you to do the adoption yourself if your adopter can't get to the shelter. Once the animal is returned to the shelter for adoption, the foster forfeits any claims to adoption priority. So if you have a foster and you can't imagine your life without this cute little kitten or puppy, let us know, and you can bring that animal home after surgery. Then you just come in and fill out the adoption as normal, and then that little animal is yours. Same way with your friends. We have ambassador adoption packets that we can teach you how to do an adoption, and I can send it home with you. And that way, if you have a friend or family member that wants to just swing by your house, you can complete the adoption and then just bring the paperwork into the shelter. So if you or somebody you know wishes to adopt, you still need to get it in for surgery when it's ready. It's still our animal until adoption, so you'll have to follow our policies and procedures regarding the animal. The animal must be adopted within 10 days of us telling you that the animal is ready for adoption. Sometimes you may take an animal home that needs socialization, whether it could be maybe some scared, hissy kittens, or maybe it's a young dog that's very frightened here at the shelter. Those would be the only exceptions. I have fosters that have taken kittens home after surgery for another week or so, just so that they can get them a little bit more friendly. Sometimes folks will have a dog in their care for a little bit longer because that dog still needs a little bit of socialization. Showcasing your fosters. When your fosters are settled in, when their personalities are coming out, and they're a week out from having surgery, we would love it if you would send us cute photos and a write-up. No one knows these animals better than you, and we can use the photos to highlight the kittens on social media. The kittens are much more relaxed when they're in your home, and you can set up cute little fall backdrops or any kind of seasonal cute kitten photos and send them in to us. And they're probably going to look a lot more relaxed in your home than they would once they get back to the shelter. What now? You may feel like you want to keep your fosters until they're older so you can have more time with them. Don't do that. The older they are, the harder it is for them to find homes, and the harder it is for you to give them up. It's totally normal to be sad when your fosters go to their new homes. You've put your heart and soul into them for weeks or even months. It's natural to miss them, but always know that so many more need your help. You're welcome to give your contact information to adopters. Just know that you do so at your own risk and that they may or may not ever contact you. Remember, having your fosters get adopted means you can get new fosters. Okay, I'm ready. If you haven't yet done so, please fill out the foster application on our website. It's under Get Involved and then Foster. There are some quiz questions in the application, so we know you've watched the orientation. If you've already filled out the application, go on and fill out the on deck form, and then you're ready to go. And finally, we really appreciate the valuable work that our foster care providers do for these animals' lives, even though we sometimes forget to say it. Without you, many animals would not make it simply because of the humane capacity in a shelter. You make our capacity of the shelter as much as 3 times larger by caring for these precious lives. We appreciate what you do. And also, please tell your friends and family how rewarding foster care is and encourage them to sign up for this recorded orientation. Our goal is to save every healthy, viable animal, and we cannot do it without you and more people like you. So feel free to share your fosters and your experiences on your own social media pages. And thank you so much for your support of our life-saving mission.